The Breaking Point Ambassador Sarah Chan stood before the massive crystalline doors of the Galactic Council chamber. Her reflection multiplied endlessly in the faceted surface. The weight of 40 years of human membership in the Council pressed down on her shoulders like a physical burden. Today would mark either a new beginning or a final ending for humanity's place among the stars. The chamber beyond these doors housed representatives from over 300 species, each believing themselves superior to the others in their own unique way. But there was one thing they all agreed upon. Humans were the youngest, most naive, and least deserving member of their exclusive club. Sarah touched the sealed envelope in her jacket pocket. The message from Earth's President Martinez was clear and irreversible. Operation Exodus was ready. 40 years of preparation, 40 years of being talked down to, dismissed, and treated like children had led to this moment. The doors dissolved into sparkles of light, and Sarah stepped into the vast amphitheater. The chamber was designed to impress and intimidate, with its dome stretching 300 meters overhead and seats arranged in perfect geometric patterns. Each species had their designated area, marked by environmental controls suited to their biology. The Altarians occupied the highest tier, their tall, ethereal forms glowing with an inner light that spoke of their advanced age and supposed wisdom. They had been spacefaring for over 50,000 years and never let anyone forget it. Below them sat the Nexari, insectoid creatures whose chittering filled the air with a constant background noise. Their hive mind made them efficient, but utterly lacking in individual creativity. The Corvin delegation lounged in their specially heated section, their scaled bodies basking under artificial suns. They controlled the largest military force in the galaxy and used that fact to settle most disputes. The Threnody floated in their liquid-filled spheres, their jellyfish-like forms pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that served as their language. And then there were the humans, relegated to a small section near the bottom of the chamber. The positioning was deliberate, a constant reminder of their junior status, despite their numerous contributions to galactic civilization. High Counselor Valen of the Altarians called the session to order, his voice carrying the musical quality that his species used to demonstrate their cultural superiority. Today we address the final resolution regarding the human colonial expansion in the Kepler sector. Sarah had known this was coming. 3 months ago, human colonists had established New Terra in the Kepler sector, a previously unclaimed region of space rich in rare minerals. The colony was thriving, home to nearly 2 million humans who had built something beautiful from barren rock and endless void. But the Altarians wanted it. They claimed that humans were too young as a species to properly manage such valuable resources. They argued that the colony should be placed under Altarian protection for its own good. Counselor Zake of the Nexari rose from his designated speaking platform, his forearms clicking together in their version of formal address. The hive mind has calculated optimal resource distribution patterns. Human extraction methods show 23.7% inefficiency compared to Nexari techniques. Transfer of colonial rights serves galactic economic optimization. Sarah stood to respond, but Valen's dismissive gesture stopped her before she could speak. The Council recognizes that humans may have emotional attachments to their settlement, but wisdom comes with age. The Altarian Empire has managed similar colonies for millennia. They will ensure the resources are used for the greater good of the galaxy. The vote was swift and decisive. 312 votes in favor of the transfer, 1 against. The human vote didn't even count toward the total, as they were considered interested parties in the matter. Sarah felt something break inside her chest. 40 years of this. 40 years of being patronized, dismissed, and treated like children who couldn't be trusted with sharp objects. The anger that had been building for decades suddenly crystallized into perfect, cold clarity. What the Council didn't know was that humans had been preparing for this day since their first year of membership. While the aliens had been congratulating themselves on their wisdom and superiority, human scientists, engineers, and strategists had been working on something the galaxy had never seen before. Dr. Michael Torres had spent 30 years developing dimensional phase technology in a research facility that existed in a parallel quantum layer, invisible to all known scanning methods. Engineer Lisa Park had created self-replicating construction systems that could build entire space habitats in weeks rather than years. Strategist Colonel James Wright had mapped every major alien installation, trade route, and military asset in the galaxy using a network of human tourists and cultural exchange students. Project Exodus wasn't just an escape plan. It was a complete restructuring of human civilization designed to operate independently of galactic infrastructure. While other species had grown dependent on interconnected systems and cooperative agreements, humans had quietly built redundant, self-sufficient networks that could function without any outside support. Sarah reached into her pocket and pulled out the sealed message. Every eye in the chamber focused on her as she broke the official seal of the United Earth Federation. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Sarah began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic systems. "For 40 years, humanity has served as a member of this body. We have contributed our technology, our resources, our knowledge, and our lives to the betterment of galactic civilization." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. This wasn't how humans usually spoke. There was no pleading, no emotional appeal, no request for reconsideration. "We have shared our medical advances that have saved billions of lives across hundreds of worlds. We have provided engineering solutions to problems that had stumped your greatest minds for centuries. We have served as mediators, peacekeepers, and bridge builders between species that had been enemies for millennia." Sarah's voice grew stronger, more confident. "And in return, we have been treated as children. Our ideas have been dismissed until other species claimed credit for them. Our colonies have been seized whenever they became profitable. Our votes have been ignored whenever they conflicted with the desires of the elder races." The chamber fell. Silent. Even the constant chittering of the Nexaris stopped. "Today, the Galactic Council has voted to steal our colony in the Kepler sector. You justify this theft by claiming we are too young, too inexperienced, too naive to manage our own affairs. You speak of wisdom that comes with age, but wisdom also comes with learning from one's mistakes." Sarah looked directly at High Counselor. "Velen, and your greatest mistake was underestimating humanity." She held up the message from Earth. "By the authority vested in me by the democratically elected government of the United Earth Federation and the Colonial Council, representing all human settlements, I hereby formally withdraw humanity from membership in the Galactic Council, effective." Immediately, the explosion of noise was deafening. Aliens were shouting, chittering, growling, and flashing in dozens of different languages. High Counselor Valen's ethereal glow flared brighter as he tried to restore order. "This is impossible," he declared. "You cannot simply leave. The galaxy is dangerous. Without our protection, humanity will be destroyed by pirates, raiders, and hostile forces." Sarah smiled for the first time in months. "Your protection? When have you ever protected us from anything? You've been too busy stealing from us to offer any real help." General Fox of the Corvan military delegation rose to his full height, his scaled form towering over the nearby seats. "This is a mistake that will cost your species dearly, human. There are forces in the galaxy that would consume your entire civilization without hesitation. A council keeps order, maintains peace. The council maintains the status quo," Sarah corrected. "A status quo that benefits the elder races while keeping everyone else in their place. We reject that system." She began walking toward the chamber's exit, her footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. As of this moment, all human personnel are withdrawing from council positions. All human colonies are renouncing council authority. All trade agreements, defense pacts, and cooperative treaties between humanity and council members are hereby terminated. The implications began sinking in. Human doctors staffed medical facilities on dozens of worlds. Human engineers maintained critical infrastructure across the galaxy. Human traders carried goods through routes that no other species found profitable. Human researchers led joint projects that were on the verge of major breakthroughs. Counselor Zek's chittering took on a frantic quality. Economic disruption probability approaches certainty. Human withdrawal creates cascade failure scenarios across multiple sectors. This action threatens galactic stability. Then perhaps you should have treated us as equals rather than as servants. Sarah replied without turning around. As she reached the chamber doors, High Counselor Velen called out one final threat. If you leave this chamber, humanity will be classified as a rogue species. Any human found in council space will be arrested. Any human ship will be impounded. Any human colony will be subject to forcible annexation. Sarah paused at the threshold and looked back at the assembled representatives. That assumes you can find us. The doors dissolved behind her, cutting off the eruption of angry voices. Sarah walked through the empty corridors of the council building, past the grand murals depicting the unity and cooperation of galactic civilization. She had walked these halls for 15 years as Earth's ambassador, always fighting uphill battles, always being told to be patient, to wait, to understand that change took time. Well, time was up. As Sarah's shuttle lifted off from the council's orbital platform, similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. On Altarian Prime, Dr. Jennifer Walsh was packing up her research on crystalline energy matrices. The Altarians had been taking credit for her work for years, claiming that their guidance was essential to her discoveries. They would soon learn how essential she really was. On the Nexari homeworld, Engineering Chief Robert Kim was shutting down the quantum processors that he had designed and built. The Nexari believed their hive mind made them superior at complex calculations, but they had never understood the elegant simplicity of human intuition combined with advanced processing power. In the Corvan sector, Trade Coordinator Maria Santos was uploading a virus into the commercial networks that would erase all the trade route optimizations she had developed over the past decade. The Corvan military might be powerful, but they had relied on human logistics expertise to supply their far-flung fleets. The galaxy was about to learn what it meant to lose humanity's contributions. But more importantly, they were about to discover what humans had been building in secret, while the council had been busy dismissing them as irrelevant children. As Sarah's shuttle reached the jump point, she activated her emergency communicator. This is Ambassador Chun. Operation Exodus is now active. All units proceed to Phase 1. Across human space, lights began turning on in facilities that had been dark for decades. Massive construction projects that had been disguised as mining. Operations revealed their true purpose. Ships that had been registered as cargo haulers dropped their false hulls to reveal advanced technology that exceeded anything in the galactic database. The age of human subservience was over. The galaxy was about to meet humanity as an equal for the first time. Whether they liked it or not, the reckoning 3 weeks after humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, the galaxy was falling apart. The first sign of trouble came from the Altarian medical facilities. Dr. Jennifer Walsh had been leading research into neural regeneration therapy, a treatment that had reduced permanent brain damage by 90% across dozens of species. When she packed up her research and disappeared, the Altarians assumed it could continue the work using her notes. They were wrong. Without Dr. Walsh's intuitive understanding of interspecies neurology, the treatments began failing. Patients who should have recovered completely were left with partial paralysis. Others developed severe cognitive impairment. The Altarians frantically tried to contact her, only to discover that all human communication channels had gone silent. On Nexari Prime, the quantum processing networks were crashing in cascade failures. Robert Kim's elegant integration of human creativity with Nexari computational power had been the backbone of their economic system. Without his constant adjustments and optimizations, the hive mind found itself overwhelmed by data processing. Requests it couldn't handle efficiently. The Corvin military was discovering that their mighty fleets were running out of fuel and supplies. Maria Santos's logistics algorithms had been managing supply routes that spanned thousands of light years. Without her systems, ships were arriving at empty supply depots or finding themselves stranded in deep space when they're carefully calculated. Fuel consumption exceeded their reserves. High Counselor Valen stood before an emergency session of the Galactic Council, his usually serene demeanor cracked by growing desperation. A human withdrawal has created systemic failures across multiple sectors. We need to establish communication with their leadership immediately. General Fox's scaled hide had taken on a darker coloration, indicating extreme agitation. Our military scouts report that all human colonies have vanished. Not destroyed, not evacuated, vanished. Our sensors detect no trace of human civilization anywhere in known space. The implications were staggering. Humanity had operated over 800 colonies and space stations throughout the galaxy. They had maintained research facilities, trading posts, agricultural centers, and industrial complexes on thousands of worlds. All of it had simply disappeared without leaving so much as an energy signature behind. Counselor Jek's chittering had become erratic as the Nexaray hive mind struggled to process the impossible data. Probability calculations indicate technological capabilities far exceeding our assessments. Humans possessed stealth technology of unprecedented sophistication. But it was more than stealth. The humans had somehow removed entire worlds from normal space-time, leaving behind only empty orbits and confused orbital mechanics. Moons were circling nothing. Space stations were locked in gravitational dance with invisible partners. Dr. Karath of the Threnody delegation pulsed with urgent bioluminescent patterns. Our medical emergency grows critical. 17 worlds report epidemic outbreaks that human physicians had been controlling. Without their treatment protocols, we face potential population losses in the billions. The truth was becoming undeniable. For 40 years, the Galactic Council had dismissed humanity as junior partners, too young and inexperienced to contribute meaningfully to galactic civilization. They had been completely wrong. Humans hadn't just been contributing to the galaxy's success. They had been quietly holding it together. Their withdrawal wasn't just an inconvenience. It was an existential threat to the established order. On the hidden world of New Geneva, Sarachon stood in the command center of humanity's secret government. The facility existed in a pocket dimension, accessible only through quantum tunneling technology the humans had developed in complete secrecy. Around her, holographic displays showed the cascade failures spreading across the galaxy. Status report. She requested from the assembled department heads, Dr. Torres, his hair now completely gray from decades of dimensional research, gestured to a star map showing galactic infrastructure. Phase 1 withdrawal is complete. All human personnel and assets have been successfully relocated to dimensional pockets. The aliens are finding empty spaces where our colonies used to be. Colonel Wright, now a general and head of strategic operations, added his assessment. Intelligence networks report panic spreading through Council space. Their economies are collapsing faster than we projected. They're completely dependent on human innovation, and they never realized it. Sarah nodded. The plan had worked perfectly, but she took no joy in the galaxy's suffering. What about their military response? "They're forming a joint task force," General Wright reported. 3,000 ships from 6 different species, commanded by General Fox himself. They're calling it the Restoration Fleet. Engineer Park, now Director of Human Technological Development, laughed bitterly. "They're still thinking in terms of conventional warfare. They don't understand what they're dealing with." She was right. The Restoration Fleet was equipped with the most advanced technology the Council races possessed, but it was all based on principles that were centuries old. Humans had been developing radically different approaches to physics, engineering, and warfare. The quantum entanglement drives that powered human ships didn't just move through space, they moved through reality itself, allowing instantaneous travel between any 2 points in the universe. The dimensional armor that protected. Their vessels didn't just deflect energy weapons, it redirected attacks into parallel universes where they harmlessly dissipated. Most importantly, human artificial intelligence had evolved far beyond simple computation. Their AI systems didn't just process information, they understood context, emotion, and intuition in ways that alien technology couldn't comprehend. "They're demanding that we reveal ourselves and return to negotiations," Sarah observed, reading the latest communications intercepts. "High Counselor Velen is promising equal representation and respect for human sovereignty." "After 40 years of treating us like children," General Wright growled. "Too little, too late." But Sarah was considering a different approach. Humanity had proven their point. The galaxy now understood what they brought to the table. The question was whether they could build something better than what had come before. "Prepare the Revelation Protocol," she decided. "It's time to show them who we really are." The Restoration Fleet had spent 2 months searching for any trace of human civilization. They had investigated every known human colony, scanned every sector where humans had been active, and found nothing but empty space and confused scientists trying to explain impossible physics. General Fox stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Inexorable, studying sensor readings that made no sense. "How does an entire species simply vanish?" he demanded of his science officer. Before anyone could answer, space itself began to shimmer around the fleet. Reality twisted and folded, revealing shapes that hurt the mind to perceive directly. One by one, human ships began materializing from dimensions that shouldn't exist. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. The vessels seemed to be grown rather than built, their organic curves flowing seamlessly into geometric patterns that spoke of mathematical principles beyond current understanding. They moved through space like living creatures, responding to some intelligence that guided them with perfect precision. The lead ship was larger than anything in the Restoration Fleet, its hull shifting between transparency and opacity as if it existed in multiple states simultaneously. As it approached the Inexorable, a communication channel opened without any of the normal protocols or security procedures. Sarah Chun's image appeared on the bridge's main viewer, but she looked different. Her clothing seemed to be made of crystallized light, and her eyes held depths that suggested awareness of realities beyond normal perception. "General Fox," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated through the ship's hull. "You've been looking for us." The Corvan general tried to maintain his military bearing, but the impossible sight of the human fleet had shaken his confidence. "We demand that you return to Council space immediately. Your withdrawal has caused chaos throughout the galaxy." Sarah's expression showed no anger, only sadness. "The chaos was always there, General. We were just holding it together while you took credit for our work." She gestured, and the space around the fleets transformed into a vast holographic display, showing the current state of galactic civilization. Red zones marked areas where critical systems had failed. Orange areas showed regions where infrastructure was breaking down. Only a few scattered green zones remained stable. "This is what the galaxy looks like without human involvement," Sarah explained. "We didn't cause this collapse. we prevented it. For 40 years, we held your civilization together while you convinced yourselves that you were the ones in charge. General Fox's military training kicked in. If you have the power to prevent this suffering, you have a moral obligation to act. Billions of lives are at stake. You're right, Sarah agreed, and that's exactly why we're here. The human fleet began moving in patterns that created three-dimensional geometric forms in space. As they moved, energy began flowing between the ships, building into something that made the laws of physics seem more like suggestions. We offer you a choice, Sarah announced, her image now broadcasting to every ship in the Restoration Fleet and every world in Council space. You can continue with the old system, where elder races make decisions for everyone else, based on the assumption that age equals wisdom. You can keep treating younger species as servants and resources to be exploited. The energy patterns reached critical intensity, and suddenly every failing system throughout the galaxy began receiving exactly what it needed. Medical facilities found their supplies restocked with treatments more advanced than anything they had possessed before. Failed infrastructure rebuilt itself using technologies that worked more efficiently than the original designs. Stranded. Ships discovered that their fuel tanks were full and their engines were running better than when they were new. Or, Sarah continued, you can join us in building something better. A galaxy where species cooperate as equals, where knowledge is shared freely, where younger civilizations are mentored rather than exploited. High Counselor Valen's voice crackled over the communication channel, transmitted from the emergency. Council session on Nexus Prime. What are you proposing? The end of the Galactic Council, as it currently exists, Sarah replied without hesitation. The creation of a new federation based on mutual respect and genuine cooperation. A system where decisions are made by consensus rather than by the species with the biggest fleets or the longest history. The silence that followed was deafening. For millennia, the elder races had maintained their dominance through a combination of advanced technology, military power, and the assumption that their age gave them inherent authority. Sarah was proposing to overthrow the fundamental power structure of galactic civilization. And if we refuse? General Fox asked, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. Sarah's expression remained compassionate but firm. Then you'll have the galaxy you've always wanted. One where humans don't interfere with your decisions or challenge your assumptions. Of course, you'll also have to manage without our medical advances, our engineering innovations, our agricultural techniques, our logistics systems, and our diplomatic solutions to conflicts that have lasted for centuries. She paused, letting the implications sink in. The choice is yours. We're not interested in ruling the galaxy or imposing our will on others. We just want to be treated as equals and allowed to contribute to something greater than ourselves. The human fleet began to fade from normal space-time, preparing to return to their dimensional refuges. But before they completely disappeared, Sarah made one final statement. You have 1 year to decide. During that time, we'll continue to provide emergency assistance to prevent suffering and loss of life. But when that year is over, you'll need to choose between the old way and a new path forward. As the last human ship vanished from sight, the Restoration Fleet was left alone in space, surrounded by the impossible evidence of humanity's true capabilities. The galaxy would never be the same again. The age of human subservience was over. The question now was whether the galaxy was ready for the age of true cooperation that would follow.